What's up, soul warriors, and welcome to the Recovery Soul Food video podcast. Tonight we have a special guest. A brand new friend of mine. I'm so grateful to have found this human being on the earth. And though he's not a recovery speaker or someone who, has suffered with addiction, this is May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And you know what I want to bring you? I want to bring you ways to grow within yourself, to grow in your soul's purpose here on earth, just to be who you are. And I don't want to always bring you, a story that may or may not bring you down. I want to bring you ways to lift your soul and your mental health and your recovery health and your life as high and as great as it can possibly be. And William Fortune is the man to do it. I met him, I just really met him recently, but I started seeing his TikToks quite a few months ago. And it was in a time where I had began Recovery Soul Food on TikTok. And I was noticing that there was just a great amount of negativity there. And while there were a lot of people, doing some really great things there were many folks there that were, let's just say had a lot of negative energy. And this fellow really turned my opinion about that around. And it also reminded me of what my purpose there on TikTok was. It was not to join in the negativity or just turn my back and walk away, but it is the same purpose that I have everywhere, which is to shine a light of love in the darkness. So I am grateful and eager to introduce you to a man that I think has an amazing history, a wonderful story, and some of the greatest philosophy about living life from the heart that I've ever had the honor to ingest, because that's what we do with wisdom. We ingest it and we let it just seep down into our souls. And when we do that, we just begin to be in the world different. So you know what time it is, y'all. It's Recovery Soul Food Meets time. And listen, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. If you like our content, then make sure that you subscribe to the Recovery Soul Food YouTube channel. Head over to TikTok and check us out at Recovery Soul Food. Also, if you like the content, make sure that you like it, share it. And if you listen to the audio podcast, you can be a supporter at anchor.fm/Recovery Soul Food. Or if you can leave a positive review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, all of Bill's information is down in the description of this video, but he's also going to let you know where to find and follow him at the end of this video as well. Now, I want to thank our sponsor for tonight's video and my executive producer, Miss Pamela Topchian of Breakthrough Hypnotherapy. You head over there, you mention Recovery Soul Food, and you are going to get the gift of not only a free consultation and that first free sample session, but you're going to get a full free session with Pamela. And I'm going to tell you, hypnotherapy has changed my life. And Pamela is an amazing gift to the world, to me, to Recovery Soul Food, and to all of us. So make sure that you head over to hypnobreakthrough.com. or you can find her on Facebook at Breakthrough Hypnotherapy, and I think Instagram as well. So if y'all are ready, you know I'm ready. Let's meet Mr. William Fortune of Billosophy 101. Let's go. Mr. William Fortune, Billosophy 101. Thank you for being here on the Recovery Soul Food Podcast, man.
Elsie, it's great to be here. Thank you for asking me on. I hope that I have something that resonates with the folks who listen and see what I have.
Absolutely, you will, because I'm telling you, the folks here, they are mostly, in recovery. But as you and I have discussed briefly, and what we know about some of the worst moments in life, bring us some of the greatest connections with life and love. And I call this family my soul warriors because, they've come from places that are the darkest that people can be. And yet every day get up and shine their light and move one foot in front of the other.
And so that is huge, because some days are so hard to get out of bed. Woo. Some days are so hard to get motivated, and yet you're doing it. And even if you're staying in bed, you know what? A big thing for me that I learned, and it was this mindset of I can't rest until I've done the work. Right? You can't rest. You got to keep working hard. You got to grind and grind and grind. And then you can take a break. And in the last year, my mind was blown with the idea that when I'm tired, I can rest. And sometimes that's just mental tired. Life is hard. Whew. And just take a moment. And so much can change when you own a moment. And I mean, not like a 8-hour sleep, but if you take half-hour nap, you own that your dominance, your sovereignty in that space to take your half-hour nap and then get up and do your thing. Whether that thing is I'm going to clean the dishes or I'm going to go to work or owning your sovereignty is important.
That's beautiful. And that's great information, man, because you're right. So many times, and I'm very guilty of this. This is something that I do a lot of work on where, I have to let myself say, okay, wait a minute. Like we can rest. Like it's time to rest. Let's, we don't always have to be doing more. And I think that what happens in the mind of someone coming out of active addiction into recovery is that I'm not doing enough. In those moments where we don't feel like we're enough, I'm not doing enough.
You see my sign. I am enough. I remind myself every day I am enough. So you don't know all of my story because we're new friends.
Yeah, we are. And
I was an acrobat with Cirque du Soleil.
That's amazing.
The first time I saw the show was 1988, and I knew this is what I want to do with my life. Wow. I didn't get hired until 1998, 10 years later.
Wow. Okay.
When I got hired, I still did not believe that I belonged there. So every day I would run the 3 miles to work. I would train with everyone. And then I would do another hour of workout afterward. And then I'd run home because I thought I had to keep working harder. My brain hadn't locked into I am where I belong. I didn't think I was enough. And that didn't change. I mean, I continued that program. We were on tour in Asia, and I continued to run every day to work and from work when everyone else is like chilling, going to the clubs, doing their thing. Because, hey, they're traveling through the world. You know, they're in their skin. So often when we don't accept who we are, then no matter where we are, we don't belong.
That's a powerful statement, because while you were saying that, I was thinking of that very thing, that whole mindset around I'm not enough, and the fact that where we are is time for us to experience. And so here we are robbing ourselves of experience, thinking, oh no, they're going to find out I'm not supposed to be here. Oh, they're going to find out that I can't really recover, or these people are going to find out that I'm just an incorrigible addict. I remember thinking that same thing, like, what am I even doing here? I'm an incorrigible addict. You can't,
Right, right.
and what you're saying right now, man, just dropped in my soul and hit like, gold bricks.
I
Thank
will.
you.
I mean, I can. There's so much more. I think because and that whole idea. So I was going through a divorce. My mother had just passed away. I was like in the process, and I'm just like, I had nowhere to go. I was seeing a counselor, but it wasn't quite getting me there. And so I was like, I need my people, and I started going to AA.
Mm,
And
nice.
at first I was like, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. And I started listening to the shares, and I went, you know what? I belong here. I belong with you. And my addiction was not the same as theirs. My
Mhm.
issue was not the same as theirs. But here we are, all struggling to
Yes.
to gain control of this ship that is us traveling through the ocean of life.
Yeah.
And so, did I belong in that room? Yes, I did. And I didn't
Absolutely.
share. I just needed to be in the room.
Yes.
And in being in the room was so helpful. And
Mm,
I guess what I gained some really great friends from being in the room. Those are
beautiful.
people I could look to on the street, and we could have a nod knowing that we're in the room together on our when we're there, and we see each other, and it was just an acknowledgement. And all of a sudden, that acknowledgement of seeing this person on the street or in a store, just giving them a nod like, I see you. It was a reminder for me that sometimes we can be in so much pain
Yeah.
that we are not seen. We don't believe that we can be seen through the pain, that people
Yes.
can't even see us. And when you look at that guy and that woman who is across the room or around in the circle, and you give them a nod on the street, it's not I see your pain, it's I see you.
You. Yes. Yes. And what a beautiful testament to, like I said before we started, I'm so grateful, man, to have had my addicted past, from the times where I would wake up and wonder, God, here I am awake again, like, oh God. I'm grateful for that, because number one, I've made some of the most amazing connections with other human beings on earth. And I
Mhm.
find inspiration in this community every day. And also, my soul has begun to awaken, because you get to that place where you're just like, okay, I've tried to live up to everybody else's standards. I've tried to do this for society. I've tried to do this, and none of it's working. Here I am, open. Who am I?
Right.
And we were having that conversation beforehand of, we go from that stages. And I would like for you to share a bit of that, going from the who am I, the why me.
Oh yeah. So what I was saying, what I had said before, is in the philosophical question of who am I, is that the first step, and that's the beginning of the journey. And as you go into that thing, you may never ever figure out who am I or
Mm.
who I am. What you do get to the place, the question of why am I? And
Oh.
that's when you step into why am I? Why, and not why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why am I
Mm.
who I am?
Mm.
And that's your purpose in life. And that purpose can shift, because just like a quest game that you might play, or a role playing game, when you
Yeah.
hit your checkpoint at a certain marker in your journey, then your why am I changes. And
So, yes.
you may have seen this, when you're young, you go to elementary school, then you get to high school, then you get to possibly college or a trade school or a career or a job. All those are checkpoints in the why am I. And then what happens is, in our culture, we have this point at 18 when poof, you're an adult. We haven't done any of the processing of stepping into maturity, becoming an adult. We have checkpoints for school, but not for the who am I, why am I parts of life when we
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Man, and I don't think, and I could say I don't think just because it's my experience, but who knows? But I have to almost know, though, that I would not have found this amazing purpose had I not gotten to go through all of that, you know? And I feel at home in my soul when I do this. When people say, what do you do every day that you wake up and love to do? I think this, man, I love this. It's what I love.
What I would love to hear people say when that question is asked, what is it you wake up to do that you love to do every day? What I want the first thing out of people's mouth is, I am me. I get to be me. Because in fully being yourself, because we're human beings, and fully being yourself, you can do anything.
Absolutely.
And I'm proof of that. I'm a kid who grew up on a farm in New Jersey, 10 acres of land, and I've been a stuntman. I've written books. I've traveled around with a circus as a clown and as an acrobat. I've been in, big budget Hollywood films. I have, been ridden around Hong Kong Harbor on the Greenpeace Rainbow Warrior 2.
That's
just
awesome.
because they thought I was really cool and that was a neat experience. I was like, what?
That's awesome.
My life is the dreams of a young child.
That's amazing.
It's like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. And I've done them.
That's beautiful.
Now, it hasn't been easy.
Great point.
It hasn't been easy. And on the wall here, there's these framed things, right? I fought for so long for validation. A diploma didn't mean it, because here I was in the world and I felt like a fraud. I was seeking validation, and I got validation in paper form, but I didn't feel like when I looked at people, I was who I was.
Yes.
And no matter how much they gave me paperwork, I had to learn how to love me. I had to learn how to trust me. And the big one, I had to have faith. And at first I thought faith was the belief in other things. What I found out was the faith is, if we are vessels of the divine, faith is trusting in self that we are vessels of the divine.
Yes.
And when I believe in me, I can believe in anything.
Yes. Yes. And I think that so much when I look back, and I often do look back over my life a lot, because you know what? It helps me be better at what it is I feel called to do. When I can look back and see that, and we talked a little about this, so much of my pain was wrapped up in the places where I felt like I failed at what others had expected of me. And it takes great courage to actually step into you and who you are, and decide to embrace fully the experiences of you and your life. There's so much of a life that gets wasted when we only live to get outside validation. Now, recovery and deep addiction and a 9-month relapse is what taught me that. And to say, oh my gosh, I'm using to cover up the pain of not being good enough for this, but I don't really want this anyway.
What just came to mind, and we didn't mention that, I didn't mention this before. It just came to me when I just heard you talking about this, about the failures. When you are your unique self, it's when you fail to be someone else. When you fail to meet the needs that you're perceiving and expecting that it takes to be someone else. If I wanted to be Idris Elba, I would fail. If I wanted to be Kevin Hart, I would fail. if I wanted to be The Rock, any one of those people, I would fail because I'm uniquely born to be William Fortune. And the path that I'm going to take will not look like Kevin Hart's or Idris Elba's or The Rock. It's going to look like William Fortune's path, and it will be a failure to be any of those others.
That is divine wisdom, and there is healing that can happen in the very moment that you go and you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, whose life am I trying to, mimic, and why not just step into my own? What do I want to do? What brings me joy? And there's so much of a talk in the recovery community, unfortunately, about what is recovery, what way is the right way and the wrong way. And here in this soul family, in Recovery Soul Food, man, whatever way brings you pure joy and bliss, whatever way helps you wake up and keep moving towards you and all that you are, that is the greatest way for you to recover, and stand firm in that and strong in that, and let it change whenever that one part no longer serves you. I often say, I'm in year 8 at this point. And at year 8, I don't struggle every day with wanting to use when my emotions, turn negative on me. And I'm grateful for that, but it wasn't always like that. But today, in year 8, I still have to wake up and make my recovery battle plan for what I have set in my motion today.
Yes, it doesn't go into autopilot.
Never.
That's another thing. Life, there is no autopilot. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire and you've got everything laid out in front of you. There is no autopilot.
So
and
true.
Yes, it's funny because I think of, when you talk about your recovery path, as a performer, as a physical performer, an acrobat, one of the things that was happening, you learn is, you're going to get hurt. You're going to do this stuff. And then you're going to have to do rehab. Well, I injured my back and started doing rehab, and to just be able to walk again. And then when I went back to teaching other people, what I started teaching them was the rehab. And as a prehab, imagine if we start working with people and do prehab with them, and let's skip the addiction issues. Let's skip this, because we're going to do the prehab of working with your soul and your purpose and your way of life. Imagine what a world would be with these beings who are shining with their divine brilliance.
Yes.
In every element. It doesn't mean you have to be a chief academic and a PhD. You could be an auto mechanic. You could be a bridge repair person and still shine.
Yes.
Because you've done the prehab of stepping into yourself.
Absolutely, man. And I love that you said that too, because oftentimes, I think that's where we're going. And that's why I'm grateful for guys like you and myself and so many other amazing humans that I've gotten to connect with, is that's what we are in the process of shifting into, is a place where we start doing this with kids early, where, maybe along with math, reading and all that, we do some soul work.
As a God, we talked about this before. My identifiers, I really hate the identifiers of cis male, hetero, because there's so much of me that lives and embodies so many different elements and holds on to that. And what I would love is for, if we forget race, forget gender, just lose all that stuff, and we start to identify us humans as are you living in your light?
Yes.
Are you living in your light? I don't want to know what you switched and did. And you may have power. Some of you may have power in taking that ownership of, I have stepped fully into this from this. I honor you. I honor you greatly. Yet I still would love for us to just be. I don't want to look at, you're a black hetero male who's I want to look at a person who I look at and go, man, you are in your power and your light, or and I'm just loving who you are, not what you do,
Yes.
who you are.
Yes. 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 And I am really, really honored to have a platform that begins to try to help others emerge into that as well. Because what you'll never ever hear me say is, "Hi, my name's Lona, and I'm a trans addict." Never in the world are you going to ever hear me put those labels upon myself. I am a human being living my best experience in what I was divinely created here to do. Life is love in full expression. Life in full expression.
I would. You mentioned those things. If you're in the military, you get a little button or a flag or a pendant or a medal or something. In my life, I have tattoos which are all of that. Which should talk. If you were to ask me what this means, oh my goodness, I could go deeply. Those are my medals. This is my transformation in art form on my arm, on my leg, my other arm, and because in some cases, I want to remind myself where I've been. It's like putting pins on the roadmap. I want to remind myself where I've been because I'm going places.
Yeah.
And I'm going places in the universe, not just in this world, not just in this lifetime, but in the universe. I'm traveling. I'm a cosmic traveler in this flesh rocket going through the universe.
I love it. I love that. I love that because I feel the same thing, man. And I tell you, there's nothing better to me than waking up every single day and being able to look in the mirror and just being so grateful for who I am, and just grateful to see me for the first time. Whenever you do struggle with knowing that you are different from others from a very young age, you learn quickly to protect your secret because it is dangerous if you don't. And I've learned that firsthand. And so for so long, I had no idea who I was or what my personality even was. For the longest time, I had to learn how to stop being a chameleon by the people I was around because that was my safety mechanism. It's how I stayed safe. And, getting up now, being able to, brush my teeth and look up in the mirror and see myself and say, wow, we're at such peace. In this moment, we are at such peace because we've stepped into who we are. And yes, it takes courage, I believe. It takes courage for any human being to really step into who they are, their divine being, and to come to realize that. And, I'm grateful for guys like you because the information you give every day reminds me of that every day.
I am great. I am so glad that it resonates.
Once
again, so you understand, and it's not easy to accept that it will have a resonance.
Yes, I know.
Believe it or not, I have been knocked down so hard for being me that it's sometimes scary to continue to be me.
It is.
And it's funny. I was looking at the comments, and Pamela had written about balance is key. And if I can just comment on that real quickly.
Please do.
Because it's something that really, because there are some people who get almost triggered by going balance, life is balance. And as an acrobat, I'm going to keep going back to the acrobat, the performer thing. Balance isn't stasis. Balance isn't static. Balance is moving between dark and light, but focusing on the center. I'm going to find this moment and constantly trying to get back to that midpoint between darkness and light, and also recognizing, because what I found is in the cycles of that balance is when I start to recognize the cycle, then what I used to call depression, I now go, okay, here we go, downslope. I'm going to hang out here. And I had my log, my little journal. I realized I can mark this 3 days. If it's 4 days, then I need to do a little something else. 3 days and I'm back out and I'm on my rise again. And that once I started realizing, oh my goodness, I have a cycle too.
That's
balance became really, it was like, oh, here we go. I'm on the light side for a while, and here's that moment where downslope. So I just wanted to touch on that because that's something gets talked about over and over again. And when I work with people on this whole mindfulness, it's how to get the mind not just full of stuff, but full of power and presence.
Yes.
Working with that mindfulness, recognizing the cycle and understanding that that's the balance.
Beautiful, man. And I'm glad that you said something about that because, you know, a lot of these things are talked about. We say little things like balance and mindfulness, and we say them or they get said and then they just kind of get moved away from. So people make their own determination of what balance is, and it can sometimes feel too hard. And I'm glad that you brought up the whole down the slope and back up again, because I've been there for the last 3 days, and it even started, I could tell now where it started from, and I could follow that cycle down, and then I followed that to pull back up again, and I was able, and this is the most beautiful part of doing this inner work, is that I was able to sit in that place and say, okay, this is where I am. And okay, I don't have to be at 10. I don't have to be at 10 today, and it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And if you start to recognize that cycle, there's a really cool thing that you can do. Sometimes you can actually force the cycle. You can actually go, I'm heading down fast. I'm going to give it more gas. We're going to drop through that and start to hit the upslope right away. And you can, it doesn't work all the time, but that and oh, goodness gracious, there's so much of that. If you understand that, and sometimes it's diet, it's nutrition, it's exercise. Yeah. There's so many different top things you can use that you start to regulate your own body chemicals, your own thought chemicals, that you then start to map that out. And there's oh my goodness, I'm a little getting scattered here.
It's all right.
You can map that out. And also, if you start to know these places, just like on a map, you can name these places. You can give these places names. So instead of I'm at my low point, I'm visiting Bob again. You know, here you go. I'm visiting this thing which I know, as opposed to I don't know. And here's a really cool thing about that is if you name that and say you give it a person's name, or you call it the toaster, or whatever you want to call it, if you name that, what you're going to find out is it gets more power by being unknown.
Yes. That's what I was just thinking when you said that, man.
When you name it, it's like, oh, you recognize me? I got to go.
Yes.
And then it's going to try and show up differently. And then you go, oh, you're Bob, I see you again. And you'll start to understand that pattern a little bit differently. And also, you're not dreading when Bob shows up.
Yeah.
And I say Bob just because it's real simple, but you're not dreading when it shows up again. You're starting, and then you go, I've been here. I know this place. I know this feeling. Okay, this is the day I need to go have a smoothie. This is the day that I need to go have my favorite salad. This is a day that I need to just take a walk in the park. This is, whatever that is that nurtures your soul, feeds and nourishes you.
Yeah, because it's so true. The biggest part of the powerlessness comes in the unknown, because that's the fear of depression. Depression often likes to tell you, we're going to feel this way forever. This is it. I've just lost it. I'm a failure. And depression likes to give you all that information, but you're so right and sharing great wisdom right now, because if you realize that, oh yeah, I've been here. And one of the things that really helps me is I always go, okay, wait a minute. So I know there's a law of polarity. So what goes up must come down. So I know that I'm not going to stay here either, that, that I will come back up and, and I can do some things to help myself on the way.
Yes. And in the mind, we might know, oh, everything that has a beginning has an end. Yet there are certain things that happen that are illogical. And
Mm-hmm.
even though we know that, it's like, oh yeah, this started yesterday, but I don't think this is ever going to end, or I don't know that this darkness, just like day and night, it's constantly moving through. One of the things Andrea had mentioned in the comments was appreciating the tools that are being given out. And I want to reframe that, because I have used that as, here's tools for your toolbox. And I want to reframe that into, here are toys for your toy box. Why? Because when we think of tools, we think of, I'm going to take this tool, I'm going to work with it, I'm going to master it. But you can take a toy and do so many things with it and come up with new ways to play with it. And that's what we're doing, is we're coming up with new ways to play. Because when playing is a joyful thing, work is a toilsome thing. When we start to take our toys and use them in life, then boom. You take a car and you tell it's a toy, then you're going to roll it on its wheels forward and backwards. You might turn a corner. When it's a toy, you can take that car, flip it over on its roof, slide it around, do all kinds of things with it. And it's like, this is a really cool toy.
Yes. Andrea's right. It does. It makes it joyful. It gives us a way to find bliss, even in the times that seem, that they might have been daunting in the past. And I say that all the time, tools and toolbox and all of those things. And it's just completely, and that's how quick that change and transformation can happen in moments, is where you just reframe and go, oh, that adds a whole different meaning to everything.
Yes, it does.
Love it.
There's some of the things that we each go through. And one of the things I was talking about earlier about, I was going through a divorce and my mother passed away unexpectedly, and I was in deep grief. Before my mother passed away, she had a sister-in-law who passed away, who they were very tight. And we talked for months before she passed about grief. And she was saying, do not run from your grief. And I was like, but I can't take this anymore. And she said, do not run from your grief. And I said, what do you want? What do I do? She said, ask it to teach you. And I was like, what do you mean ask it to teach me? I am hurting, Mom. I am hurting. And she said, ask it to teach you. And then you can ask it every day, but make sure you sit quietly and let it teach you. And so I'm sitting in the woods, I'm crying, I'm packing up the house, trying to move out. My marriage is down the tubes. My mother is gone. I don't have my sounding board to talk to. And then I hear a noise. A bird has mimicked my cry in the woods.
Wow.
And I heard that, and it just kind of shook me. And then it did it again, and then it changed the sound a little bit, and I started to laugh. And now I'm still in grief, yet I'm laughing. And my brain went boom. And I went, wait a minute. I am laughing with grief. Grief is right here teaching me, and yet I'm laughing. And that was like this great moment, because the world around me was the same. But the world inside of me had changed.
Yes.
I still had grief all around me, but inside I could still find joy and create joy and manifest joy. Now, it didn't stay, that joy didn't last for very long. I laughed, and then I went right back into my packing the house and back into the grief of transition. But it made me realize that this darkness wasn't as intense as I once saw it to be. Grief had taught me that.
Amazing. Amazing what can happen when we turn circumstances and take away that thought process of life's not fair into there is always something to be learned and loved here. And I think that has been, for the past 8 years of my life, because I can't tell you how many times in the 22 years of my active addiction, the overdoses, the accidents, all the times I shouldn't be here, all the friends I lost, that my whole way of belief system was all of this wasn't fair. I had tried to get clean and sober. There's a difference to me in clean and sober and recovery, because I was just trying to abstain from my coping skill. versus really going deeper into that whole question of, okay, so why am I here? Many of my friends aren't. In my opinion, they deserved way more to be here than I did. What does all this loss mean? And in every time that I stand on a platform, in every moment I sit in this chair and turn on this camera, each and every one of those guys and ladies are standing all right here saying, and this is why, and here we are with you. It's outstanding.
You've just blown my mind. You've absolutely blown my mind. Because every one of those souls is backing you right now. Every one of those souls is producing what you do right now. They're supporting you in ways that they could not do in human form. They have taught you in ways that, to me, is mind-boggling. And their wisdom lives on. And you may not have even understood it in their living, but their wisdom lives on. Which is to say, you're in your place, you're in your shine, you're in your glow. And if it was not for them, and not that they did anything, but if it was not for them, you would not be here.
So true. So true. So true. It is absolutely, it blows my mind each and every day that I have managed through the very things and the ways of being that we're talking about here, that we're sharing with the world on all of our respective platforms. It is through all of these things that I have come to a place of being able to sit in this place with myself and know that, because each one of them in life taught me so much. And for me to be able to come out of that grief, I mean, the grief was so intense when I lost my best friend, considered my brother, my grandmother, who was my mother for all intents and purposes. I was grateful I had two mothers. And then 6 months to the day later, I lost my grandfather. And it was the promise I made him in his dying breath that I would get my life together while still in active addiction. That grief, still for a year to 2 years after that, the doctors had given me 6 months to live, not because they found a disease within me, but grief. I had given up on life. My grief was so great that I could not bring myself up out of it. My muscles had atrophied. My wife had to carry me to the bathroom, had to put me in the bathtub. I could not do anything for myself. That's how powerful we can get involved in that. And I sit here because of guys like you and of people that have sewn into me in this way. And for me being willing to open myself up to the greater purposes for it all.
Wow, that's a powerful story. That's a powerful message. And it reminds me of a lot of things I've gone through. And what I want to say is, you did die so that you could live. So that the you that you are now could rise from that death and live. That part of that you died. And whether it was in that 6 month period or not. And the reason why I say that, how that resonates for me, for 50 years, over 50 years of my life, I was Bill Fortune. That was me. And I had to die within myself and within the world to recognize and go back to life as William. The reason why I chose William, it's on my birth certificate. That was the first name ever called to me. And so in coming back to life, I came back as William. Now, I have friends who still call me Bill. My family still calls me Bill. I am William because this is a new life. This is a life of purpose, and this is a life that is not apologizing for stepping fully into my spirituality, for stepping fully into myself, and for stepping fully into my head, my heart, and my gut so that I can be myself.
Yes, yes. And thank you so much for being you and expressing that, because I feel that as a trans person, there's always this question about your name and what will you do with your name and how will you change it. And I went through all of that. I've been here and transitioning for 3 years, and it's only been in this year that I said, I'm not changing my name. I don't care if it sounds feminine or masculine or anything. I went by LC for just a little while, and I still go by that sometimes, but I will not on my birth certificate or anything change Lona, because at a certain point in my life, that was a part of me that I hated. But this, who I am today, that I emerge and am continuing to emerge, I embrace that name. It is special to me. It is who I am. It is an embodiment of just that, of having a death in life and a rebirth. And it's
And
amazing.
I say, because there's sometimes when I'm even question whether I should say that, because it sounds so very much like Christianity, where you're baptized and you're reborn, and I understand from Christianity why that is necessary. And yet when I practice that, I am now a spiritual person. I am, even though
Yes.
I'm ordained in the Universal Life Church and I'm ordained through whatever Judaism, and I've married people. I don't have a religion. I have a spirituality. The
Yeah.
religion is humanism. The
Mm.
religion is being fully human and experiencing in that way.
Mm.
Yeah. So, woo. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, like,
I
wow, you.
I know. I know, man. What you ask for with a pure and earnest heart, you will get if you allow it to be delivered to you in its time, in its divine time. And I prayed for a good friend. My friend Pamela came into my life. I lost a good friend of mine who was an admin for a lot of my stuff. She passed away unexpectedly, and here comes my beautiful friend and executive producer, Pamela Topjian. Not too long ago, I said, okay, I want a strong male friend who has the same like soul, path, this whole same philosophy, friendship. And I have seen you on TikTok this entire time, but it was just what 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, that I watched one of the videos, and something within my soul said, message him. We need to have him on the show. And it just happened that, the weeks that, this week wasn't booked. And I was like, yep, let's do it this week. And it worked out. And
And
here we sit
right.
making
And
this
you had said,
connection.
I had this opening happen, and can you do it this quickly? And I was like, yeah, let's make this happen.
Oh,
It felt right. And I don't normally do research on folks, but I was like, let me go see what this looks like. And I went and looked at one of your videos and went, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
it's amazing that your soul tribe actually does just come into your vibe, attracts your tribe. I know this from a very personal place, because when I was vibing out of desperation of thinking I needed help and wanted, it was, I got it. And I'm going to tell you, it was very dysfunctional. And I learned so much from the trauma of those experiences. And then, I just laid back, got okay with being alone, became my own hero, and opened up and put these things out there. And just look.
And that's stepping into the place. For me, I have every year for the past 3 years, I have a word that leads my year. And that I post it on my wall, above my doorway before I leave the house. And last year's word was emerge. And I needed to emerge. I needed to be the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis and emerge as that butterfly. And this year, the word is abundance. And
Yes.
abundance is that flow, that great, that generous flow. And it's coming, the abundance is not just coming to me, but the abundance is flowing through me.
Yes.
And the abundance is, and what I also struggled with was financial. Money comes to me, I spend it. But what I realized, just like a river flows, right? We don't think about the river, but the river flows. And when the banks rise, oh, the river's rising. When the banks go down, oh, the rivers are low. Yet we don't consider the abundance of flow that changes when that river rises, and the abundance that changes when it goes down, but it continues to flow. And I went, you know what? I'm going to let things flow into my life that I want in my life, and I'm going to let things flow out of my life that I need gone. But everything comes in and through, and this is part of following through with that abundance and having faith in myself that I am worthy of the abundant flow.
Yes, because that is the point. I have been also in this very same place of learning and emerging into that place of thinking of, especially financial abundance, in thinking of it differently, in visiting my beliefs about it, to the point where now I've gotten to this place where I bless every dollar that I spend.
Yes,
that I bless it out into the world. And I tell you, I have not been broke a day since I have blessed it. And
that's a mindset.
Doing it scared.
That's a mindset. And I'm going to give you another thing to use, and that's reminding yourself. That's putting back into your mind that purpose, that putting into your mind, not remembering, but reminding of these things, that I can bless this and it will flow, and it will encourage the flow. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It's been beautiful, man. It's such a, do you know what else it really, really does when you do that? It takes that awful knot out of your stomach when you're spending that money and you're thinking, oh gosh, if I spend this, I'm not going to have enough for this. And we talked about this before we even got on, about our belief systems draw experiences to us. Right. And so whatever we're believing about, whatever abundance you may feel blocked from in your life, whether it's recovery abundance, whether it's whatever, love, money, whatever, you have to look at those belief systems. Ask yourself why you feel that way, and what is that deeper belief system that leads you to believe. And usually it's that's right behind your head, that with the knot in front of it. I am not enough to have that. I'm not enough to deserve it.
So many people get stuck tying themselves in knots. I am not, I am not, I am not. If you untie that knot and go to where I am, then it works. Now, the abundance thing also, and this is something everyone can practice. So there's actually a Japanese man who does this, and he uses arigato, thank you. And it's when you spend money, when there's a transaction, you say arigato. I say abundance. I sing it. Abundance. When I hand over put my credit card in the slot. Abundance. And because what I'm not doing, here's my knot. I want to untie. What I'm doing is I'm investing. I'm no longer spending money. I'm investing in, if it has to be an investment, I'm going to invest in my nourishment. Why? This is going to give to me, which then will grow, increase. Money spent, when you buy, you're just sending it out. When you invest, you're putting it, it's like fertilizing your finances. It's like fertilizing your life. And that mindset of investing over buying you can have a bad investment that's going to always be better than a good buy.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. And I love that you said knots, because, my great friend, Pamela Topjian, she has a hypnotherapy. And so I do hypnotherapy with her every week. And not the one we did, not this past week, but the week before, was untying knots in that whole session. And it was amazing that when that session was over, that I had easily untied all those knots. And it brings me to think that so many of the blocks that we sometimes feel in our lives seem much bigger, and the knots seem tied much tighter than they really are. And with just a little bit of shifting of a mindset and a reframing and just a new perspective, we can see that these knots are not as complicated to untie as we originally thought.
Right. Yes. I also, with that, some of the untying of the knot process is I used head, heart, and gut.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 different systems that work
Yep.
there. And if
Yep.
your head says yes and your heart says no, then it's not aligned. It's not balanced. If your gut says but your heart says oh yeah, it's still not aligned. When your head says yes and your heart says yes and your gut says come on, that's alignment.
Yes.
And that's, when somebody says it didn't feel right, where didn't it feel right? And it's valid that it didn't feel right. But when it feels right and it's like sings head, heart, and gut,
that's it.
Like it's really amazing to operate in that system.
It is.
Because once it starts happening and then it happens again and then it happens again, and then you're going, how is this happening in my life that all these wonderful things are happening? Your head, your heart, your gut are in alignment. You're moving on the fast track to where your life goal is.
Yes, that's so true. Because what is it? It's Napoleon Hill, I think, or Goddard, that says when abundance begins to flow, it comes so fast that you'll ask yourself where it's been the whole time.
Yes,
Neville Goddard, isn't it? Neville Goddard. It's one of them. Think and Grow Rich.
I know. Napoleon Hill has that in
yes.
Grow Rich.
It.
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich. That's it. And that's what it reminded me of when you said that, because it is so true. And I just a couple days ago, when I was in the pit of those days on my way up, I had listened to something by Oprah Winfrey, had listened to her say something, and I made that decision within myself. I said, you know what? I am going to live from the heart. I'm going to start to ask my head and my heart and my gut how this feels in every moment. And if it doesn't feel aligned, I'm going to learn to say, this is not for me. This is not for me.
Yes.
And I made that decision I made that commitment to myself, because I love myself enough to do things that feel good to me. And I deserve to do that. And I also get to say no when it's not aligned. And I deserve to do that too.
We humans may have to say no to something in order to say yes to ourselves. And that's really important, because so often we compromise ourselves so that we can please or say yes to others. Yes. And really that's not an investment. That's a buy. I'm buying what I think might be happiness. I'm going to invest in me. And you might be able to buy some happiness, but when you invest in yourself, you're going to get happiness multiplied, and that's called joy.
Yes. On that note, Bill, we could probably sit here for another 6 hours. I would bet we would not run out of things to talk about.
Probably not.
But I want you, that's why, you have to promise to come back. We want to have you back on for sure. I know that everyone here has enjoyed this. Everyone who will watch this on the replay is going to gain so much wisdom and knowledge from this. So in this moment, I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, where they can buy your books. Just tell us all of that stuff about you.
Oh, I'm so scattered. No, you can. So William Fortune, if you search it, you're going to find so many things. You're going to find Amazon, my author page for my books. You can also check out billfortune.com, which is my website. You can find me on TikTok, on Instagram. On TikTok, it's Billosophy 101. On Instagram, I believe it's W Fortune. On Twitter, it's Billosophy 101. There, you'll find Billosophy 101 all over the place, or William Fortune. And I would give you direct thing, or go here, find me. Find me, because that's when you know you're in the right place. If you go, he just told me how to do that. I'm telling you, William Fortune or Billosophy 101, you'll find me.
Absolutely. And I encourage you all that if you're on TikTok, make sure that you do follow Billosophy 101, because every single day I gain so much wisdom from your daily affirmations, from your shorts that you come on. And I wanted to publicly congratulate you on 1,500 followers, man. That's amazing. I'm grateful for that because it means your light is catching
It's
fire, and
catching on. Yeah, it's really wild.
it's amazing, and I'm so grateful for that for you. I'd love to see you I mean, the world needs what you got, man.
To tell you
It
the
needs what
truth,
you got.
and it's funny because I said this early on, I'm at 1,500 followers now. And when I was at 200 followers and there was an engagement, I would much rather have purposeful engagement than high numbers.
Yes.
If I'm making some sort of positive connection with one person,
Yes.
I've done my job. I've done my purpose.
Yes.
So I'm grateful that there are 1,500 people that enjoy that content. And once again, I'm not going to turn down 1 million.
Absolutely.
I will bring to that 1 million this message.
The
And
same
that
thing you
message
bring
is,
to the one.
you are enough. I am enough. And I hope that everyone who hears this takes this to heart and moves forward with passion and purpose.
Please. Yes, 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 and yes. Yes, when we were at a place where we were reaching 40,000 people a day, it got to the point where I started questioning, was I still giving the same when I was doing it 6 days a week and every single day? It all of a sudden it became to where I was having to pull up content, and I just backed off, and people said, you're crazy for backing off. This makes no sense. You're at 40,000 reach. And I said, yeah, but what am I reaching them with? Not reaching them with my heart. I'm reaching them with some knowledge I can spout from my mouth. I'd rather reach one with my soul and allow their soul to emerge in that way that makes them happy than 1 million. So this is how we do it now, and I don't mind.
There's a great thing because we're waking. We're waking to ourselves. We're waking to the world. And some people might say, oh my goodness, this is the revolution. And I say no, because the revolution brings us right back to where we started. This is the evolution.
Yes.
We are the evolution.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, I thank you all so much for joining us, and everybody who will watch this on the replay. And remember, this is timeless. So whenever you see this tomorrow, a year from now, remember that you're guided here to see and hear this exact soul nourishment at the exact moment that you hear it, that you see it. Make sure to follow Billosophy on TikTok. Find him wherever you can. I can't wait to get some of his books. I just know they're going to be a daily inspiration to me. Bill, don't you go anywhere when I take us off the screen. I want to tell you a proper goodbye. But everybody, thank y'all for being here so much. Like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go find Bill. You know where to find me. I will see you all Wednesday morning for Winning Wednesday live at 8 a.m. Thank you all so much. Bill, thank you so much. This has been a true joy, my friend. And I'll see y'all next time. Let's go.